Good morning. Welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing with your host, Rich Benfield. I'm standing in for Stephen Ridgway, who is on annual leave today. And we have some good headlines for you today. So we have the Mirai variant infects low-cost Android TV boxes for DDoS attacks. We have a new phishing kit out that affects thousands of Office 365 accounts and bypasses MFA. We have cybersecurity pros who battle discontent amid a skills shortage. And we have an issue with Asus routers. There's 3 critical remote code execution flaws. So let's jump straight in. So we have a new Mirai malware botnet variant that's been spotted infecting inexpensive Android TV set-top boxes. So this isn't your TVs themselves. These are your streaming sticks. And these are the inexpensive ones that you can. So the new Trojan is a new version of the Pandora backdoor that first appeared in 2015. So what tends to happen with these things is the low-cost streaming sticks that plug into your HDMI port often run slightly out of, and they're obviously quite open. So you can actually upload your own firmware into them, sort of side load it, if you will, and basically try to circumvent digital rights management for third-party streaming services, as in get your TV for free. So the problem with that is that some of this firmware is malicious. Some of it's got Trojans baked into it, and this is the problem. So if you put this politely, if you're the sort of person that wants to get something for nothing from the TV streaming services, you are essentially putting yourself at risk. Okay, budget-friendly Android TV boxes, they often have a murky journey from manufacturer to consumer. They leave the end user in the dark about their origins, about their firmware, and the various hands they've passed through. So if you want to avoid this sort of issue, one, you have to be willing to pay for your TV streaming. Okay. 2, you want to buy from reputable brands such as Google Chromecast, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Essentially, you don't want to get yourself in a position whereby you're causing yourself problems just because you tried to save £3 and bought a cheap TV streaming device. Next up, we have the Well phishing kit. That's well spelled. And the new phishing kit hijacks thousands of Office 365 accounts and bypasses MFA. So that's quite a big deal. Obviously, that's quite serious because many businesses use Microsoft's MFA to secure their authentication processes. So far from the same vendor has compromised more than 8,000 Office 365 corporate accounts over the last few months. So this business, so they've been writing custom tools for quite some time, and now they have a community of about 500 cyber criminals that buy from them. They've even gone so far as to create an entire, they started off back in 2017, started to offer a custom tool for bulk email sending, which was used for spamming. But then their popularity started to grow when they started to sell the custom phishing kit focused on Office 365 corporate accounts. So what they have is a whole bunch of geared at aimed at serving the cyber criminal market. So they've got 2 SMTP senders at least, a malicious link stager, a vulnerability scanner to help cyber criminals identify vulnerable systems called Okello. They've got an automated account discovery tool called, and an email validator called Lompat. So they've got quite a comprehensive. They all work in various ways, obviously, but they work to bypass email filters. They use obfuscation methods for email headers and text bodies, HTML tags, images, links with remote content, all of that stuff. Evade detection as well. So making phishing attachment file, which is a malicious HTML, of course, could be disguised as a document voice message. A browser will line up with a genuine looking Microsoft Outlook animation, for instance. Something to be aware of. We'll put the links to these articles on the socials so you can easily follow these up. Next up, cybersecurity pros battle discontent amid a skills shortage. So basically, we're saying 70%, well, this article is saying 71% of organizations are basically stating that jobs become more difficult over the past 2 years. And 60% of organizations continue to deflect responsibility, according to a new report from ESG and ISA. So 66% of respondents believe that working as a cybersecurity professional has become more difficult over the past 2 years, with 27% stating it's much more difficult. Internal issues like workload complexity, staffing shortages, and budget deficits combined with external issues like the dangerous threat landscape and regulatory compliance challenges have made just mainly on LinkedIn, in fact, and in the cybersecurity. I'm seeing laws in the industry. I'm seeing better tools being released, a certain level of maturity in controls and processes. So whilst I agree that it is difficult now, what I'm seeing is maturity across the board developing, and that will lead to a stronger industry going forward. So moving on, ASUS routers. We have 3 critical remote code execution vulnerabilities that actually potentially allow attackers to hijack the network devices. So we got CVE 2023-392238 affecting ASUS RT AX55s, AX56Us version 2, and AC86Us. We also have CVE 2023-39239 and 39240 affecting the same models. So these are basically format string vulnerabilities in the APIs. So they can allow remote attackers to exploit those without permission, obviously. The vulnerabilities allow for remote code execution to perform arbitrary operations on the device or interrupt service. Now, I know that those of you who are looking after business kit won't probably be using ASUS routers, but I bet a couple of you have got them at home. And certainly if you've got home workers, a lot of them will have ASUS kit at home because obviously it's quite affordable and also generally pretty reliable. So we need to get these patched, obviously. There are some firmware versions that address these vulnerabilities. You are looking at anything that is version 3.0.0.4.386 or newer, basically. So the vendor urges customers to apply those security updates as soon as possible. Now, here's an interesting one. Moving on, we have a Windows issue. So obviously, for you Office types, this is going to be important because it's historical as well. It's a vulnerability that has been going on for ages. So Windows File History Service, there's a flaw in it that lets attackers escalate. And there is a hot fix available, and patches have been for Windows. This is a backup and restore feature that automatically backs up the data stored in library. It can also back up data to an external source like USB, flash drive, or whatever. CVE 2023-35359, Windows privilege escalation. So the file history runs with system privileges that can be exploited to elevate the privileges from a normal user to a system user in order to perform malicious activities as that user. So what we've got is a DLL, FH service or FHSFC svc.dll, which is vulnerable. Action that it does performs simulates that DLL file, which is the root cause of the vulnerability. Now here's the thing, and this is where it gets interesting. It is all Windows versions. Since, well, going back to 2 and over 2022, in fact. That's also on the client side. That is Windows 10 and 11 at least. And I trust you're not running anything older than Windows 10 there as well, because this particular product from Microsoft clearly hasn't had any development time since then. So it's just sat in the background, coming with every version of Windows since it was released back in 2008 odd. So that's something that needs patching. Obviously get on top of that. I have one last thing, which is Samsung issuing patches for Android phones, multiple critical security patches. We've got a long list of CVEs. We'll drop the link in the socials for you. But essentially it is for the S series. So your Samsung Galaxy S20 1 to 22, 23 also affects Galaxy Z Flip phones and the Galaxy Z Fold 5 right up to that. So it's all the high-end phones essentially. So basically, if you're using one of those Galaxies in Europe, then go ahead and update go ahead and update your firmware, opening settings, software update, download and install. So simple as that. So definitely do that. The latest September release of firmware covers 62 vulnerabilities. Okay. As I mentioned, all of these links to the articles will be. Find us on LinkedIn or Twitter and follow those links for more information. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.